This is Center Stage with Michael Kay. Here's your host, Michael Kay.
He is quite simply one of the most recognizable athletes on the planet, and he's the total package. At the age of 29, Derek Jeter has accomplished more in his 8-year career than most teams have in their existence.
Hey everybody, welcome to a very special Center Stage Classic featuring Derek Jeter. I'm Michael Kay. This show was taped in the winter of 2003, just a few short months after Aaron Boone's home run gave Derek his 6th American League pennant. When we taped the show, he already had 4 World Championships, a World Series MVP award, and 5 All-Star Game appearances. Since then, he won another ring in 2009, made 9 more Midsummer Classics, and became the Yankees' all-time hits leader. In this first segment, Derek talks about his childhood in Kalamazoo and the way his parents helped mold him. So sit back and enjoy this hour with the captain, number 2, Derek Jeter.
Really, he's perfect. And it's sickening. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Derek Jeter to Center Stage. Thank you. Derek, thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Is it really true that when you were a little kid, you told your mom and dad, I want to be a Yankee?
You know what? My grandparents, I was born in New Jersey, so I used to spend the summers. My mom has 13 brothers and sisters, so I used to spend the summers in New Jersey and had all kind of cousins. And my grandmother was a big Yankee fan, so that's what started me to become a Yankee fan. And I always used to tell everyone that I was going to play for the Yankees, and they just basically laughed at me because I was from Kalamazoo, Michigan. No one from Kalamazoo can play professional baseball, but I was fortunate.
Now, when you were at Kalamazoo, wasn't there pressure to be a Tiger fan?
I hated the Tigers.
Really?
Yeah. They don't like me too much in Detroit right now either, so the feeling is mutual. But my dad was a huge Tiger fan, so you can't root for the same team your dad does, so right. I disliked the Tigers.
Now, at what point in your youth did you realize I can actually do this? I have the skills that I actually can be a player at that level.
Well, I never really looked at it that way. I always enjoyed playing, and you know, I always tried to make myself better. But I remember my dad telling me, if this is what you want to do, my mom as well, you can't compare yourself with kids you're playing against in Westwood Little League in Kalamazoo. I mean, there's people that are working to be the same thing you want to be all around the country, and not just necessarily this country, it's in the world now. So, you know, don't compare yourself against those kids. So I never sat down and said, well, I think I'm good enough to play professional baseball. It was just a matter of what can I do to improve.
So your parents never sat back and said, Derek, you know, this doesn't happen. People just don't get to do this. They never discouraged you at all?
No, I used to go to conferences, and some of the teachers would tell my parents, you need to put real thoughts in your kid's head because he's going around saying he's going to play professional baseball. And, you know, most kids are, I want to be an astronaut, doctor, lawyer, fireman, but I always wanted to be a professional baseball player.
Now, I heard getting you to this level was kind of a family affair where your mom was the pitcher, right?
Well, the thing is, when my high school was adjacent to my house, so we used to jump the fence, and our family time was we go over and we play. You know, we practice on a baseball field. My sister played softball. The softball field is right there, so there's been plenty of times I've hit my mom.
Now, I heard she was a wiffle ball pitcher to you?
In the backyard. She used to throw wiffle balls to me before my high school games. So it was fun for me, and fortunately, it was fun for my parents
Does
as well.
she compare to any pitcher in the big leagues, her stuff?
Wakefield.
Now, I heard that your family life was straight out of the Huxtables. Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, it was, yeah, my parents. It's pretty fun to be around because, you know, it's a comedy show. I mean, being around my family, so we used to love the Cosby Show growing up, so that's what I always compared my family to.
Now, what'd your mom and dad do for a living?
Well, my father's a clinical therapist, a drug and alcohol abuse counselor, and you know, right now he's running my foundation for the prevention of drug and alcohol abuse for kids. And my mother was an accountant, so I learned to stay away from drugs and how to manage your money when I was young.
Is it true that you and your sister Charlie actually had to sign a contract each year?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I didn't like that too much. We sat down, and my parents used to make these contracts.
Was this in January each year?
This was right before school started, so right at the end of the summer.
Okay.
And they'd map out everything. You got to get this grades. You got to make sure you're involved in these things in sports, and you can't play unless your grade point average is at this. And we had curfews and what time. I always try to negotiate the curfew. That's the only thing I used to fight. But then we'd sign it before we went to school, and we'd have to stick to it. Now,
your dad is African-American, your mom's Irish-American. Did you ever feel any discrimination from either side growing up?
Well, of course. I mean, yeah, Kalamazoo's not too big, but, you know, if you go somewhere with just your mother, you know, you're a little bit darker than your mom. You go somewhere with your dad, you're a little bit lighter than your dad, so you get funny looks. But I think it's just people aren't used to seeing it. That's all I've known. The only thing I've ever known is not looking at someone's race, is just looking at the person. But, you know, there are some ignorant people that don't really look at it that way.
Now, I read somewhere that your dad once told you have to be better than everybody else because there might be racism lurking somewhere from a black person or a white person toward you. Did you feel that ever, you know, came to fruition as a kid?
You're aware of it. I mean, at times it may happen. You know, you may look at things and say, I remember, you know, I was all right in high school, you know, playing baseball, and I remember after my junior year, it was actually my best year. I didn't even make like the all-conference or all-district team, and I thought, you know, that definitely had something to do with it. But
really?
Yeah, definitely, without question. I mean, yeah, we had some good teams, but I thought at least I could have made the all-district team. But it didn't happen. At the end of the year, they said I was the best player in the country, so I thought there was a little something going into that.
Now, the fact that you're from an interracial family, do you think that has made you more popular now that you've become a professional because both races could look at you as their own, claim you as their own? I mean, there's no drawing line there.
Perhaps. You know, I think I can relate to a lot of people, and when I first came up, everyone thought I was Spanish, so, you know, and then I got a lot of Spanish friends on the team, so I don't think people knew exactly what I was.
Now, when you first got drafted, I remember you came to Yankee Stadium for the first time, and Buck Showalter was the manager. And I spoke to Buck right after that, and he had met you and your parents. He said, I don't know what kind of player this kid's going to be, but he's going to be a great human being because all you have to do is meet his mother and father. They're unbelievable. Is that your take on this as well, that they are special
Well, yeah,
people?
he got him on a good day. That helped out a little bit. No, I'm a little biased, but I think, yeah, I can speak on and on about my parents. I think I have the greatest parents in the world. Very supportive, always positive, and you know, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for them.
How much of you is them?
I think everything.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, if you're around my parents, you'll see a little bit of both of them in me. My dad claims he's a better baseball player.
Right.
He just said he couldn't hit, but he always tells me defensively he was a lot better. So, yeah, I think definitely.
Your dad played in college, right?
He went to Fisk University in Tennessee.
Was he good?
Yeah, he was pretty good.
Yeah.
He just said he couldn't hit. That's what, you know, I'm sorry, Dad, but I got to...
What position did he play?
He was a shortstop, so I always wanted to be like him when I was younger.
Really?
But he was my first role model.
Well, when we come back, Derek Jeter tosses away the books for the full-time job of tossing the baseball to first. And that's next when we return on Center Stage. This special edition of Center Stage Classics featuring my conversation with Derek Jeter. The Yankees picked him 6th overall in the 1992 draft, setting a course for the history books. Derek became one of the great hitters in Yankees history and reached 3,000 hits with an exclamation point when he drilled a home run into the bleachers at Yankee Stadium on July 9, 2011. It's the 3-2. That one's drilled deep to left field. Going back Joyce, looking up. See ya! 3,000. History with an exclamation point. Oh, what a way to join the 3,000 hit club. Derek Jeter has done it in grand style.
I'm happy that I had the opportunity to do it. More importantly, do it here at Yankee Stadium, but there's also relief because I was trying to do it here.
His route to Cooperstown began at the Kingdome in 1995. And in this segment, Derek talks about the early stages of his young career. Welcome back to Center Stage, everybody. I'm talking with Derek Jeter. Derek, in high school, you were a member of the National Honor Society, so you're really smart. And a lot of people didn't think that you were going to go into the pros, so that's why you dropped to 6th. How close were you to going to college?
It was definitely a possibility. I mean, you know, education was huge in my family. I mean, my father's got his PhD, and my mom obviously went to school, and they've always wanted me to go to college. I signed to go to Michigan, and, you know, one of the deals was if and when I signed with the Yankees that they'd have to pay for me to go to school when and wherever I wanted to go. So right now at this pace, I think I'm through one semester, so another 25, 30 years I'll graduate. But, no, it was a huge possibility for me.
Now, with the 6th pick, the Yankees choose you, okay? What if it had been the Brewers? Would you have gone to Michigan? Was it because the Yankees picked you that you said, this is what I have to do?
Well, that definitely had something to do with it. You know, I didn't even know the Yankees picked 6th. You know, I thought, you know, everyone told me I'd go either 1st to Houston or 5th to Cincinnati, and I figured I'd be stuck behind Barry Larkin my entire career. But it definitely had something to do with it because that's the only team I ever wanted to play for. And, you know, you just want to be drafted high because I struggled. I was terrible my first year. I think I hit 202 my first year, and that was, I had a hot 2 weeks to end the season there to bring it up. And, you know, the higher you're picked, then the more patience they're going to have with you.
Was it tough, though, to actually get picked by the Yankees and then have everybody look and go, wow, he predicted this when he was 7? Did anybody come up to you and say, wow, you've been saying this forever?
Yeah, it's funny because they have like the will and fortune when you graduate from high school, or I think my 8th grade one was that see me on a Wheaties box in a Yankee uniform.
Really?
So it was pretty cool because I think after '98 it was on a Wheaties box. You know, there's a few of us, so it came true.
Do you ever think to play the what-if game if you had gone to college and you were a Wolverine, how different your life would be?
Yeah, I mean, obviously everything would be different. I wouldn't have been. See, I first got called up when I was 20, so I think I would have been maybe a sophomore, junior in college. So, you know, I'm very fortunate that I was able to sign, or that I chose to sign. But yeah, things would have been a lot different.
Now, you mentioned that first year that you played, you did hit .202. And I've read stories where you actually cried every day because you were homesick. First of all, I can't even picture you crying.
Every night.
You actually sat there sobbing.
Every night. Because, see, I signed late. And, you know, I think I signed a day after my birthday, day after my 18th birthday. And rookie ball starts a few weeks before that. So when I got down there, everyone had been acclimated and they had roommates. And I was by myself. I had no roommates. And, you know, I was struggling for the first time because you don't really struggle in Little League or in high school. I struggled for the first time. Everyone's looking at me because, you know, I'm the #1 pick, and I cried every night.
How'd you get through that?
Well, I'd call home. You know, I had a girlfriend at the time that came down a couple of times, but it was rough. I mean, it was rough, but...
You ever think about quitting?
Oh, yeah, it crossed my mind.
Really?
I should have gone to college. I should have done this first. I'm not ready. My parents were there. You know, I talked to them every night. Just stick with it. You know, you got to struggle, and I think that helped me out.
Now, one thing that strikes me when I see pictures of you back then, I mean, you were an absolute rail. I mean, skinny beyond skinny.
I'm real big right now, huh?
There's a picture of you right now. I mean, that is a skinny dude.
Yeah, he didn't have to show that.
Did you think that was part of the problem?
Well, you know what? When I played basketball in high school, and you know, in basketball, they make you a little bit taller than you are and make you a little heavier than you are. So I was listed as 6'3", like 185.
Right.
So I signed. The first thing they do is they give you a physical.
Right.
First thing they did is put me on a scale. I was like 154.
Oh, my God.
So I said they're going to send me home before I even start to play. But, yeah, I was pretty thin.
Now, the next year, you go to 293 at Greensboro, then 377 at Albany, 349 at Columbus in '94. Why did it suddenly happen?
You know, I don't know. I have no idea. Sometimes things just click, and then I think that helps out with your confidence. Because they say baseball's, what, 90% mental or whatever, and if you have confidence, it's going to help you out. So I think once I started to get rolling, then I just had all the confidence in the world.
Now, in '95, Tony Fernandez gets hurt, and you get called up, and your first game is in Seattle. Describe what that's like.
First game was in Seattle. I called my parents. You know, I thought I was supposedly going to get traded, and I got called. I was in AA before I went up to AAA, and they called me on the trade deadline. That was the year before, and I thought I was getting traded, but they told me I was going to AAA.
Were you hearing rumors that you were going to get traded?
Yeah, everywhere. I was getting traded to Florida Marlins, I think, for Brian Harvey.
That would have been a good deal.
You know more than me. You're the extraordinaire.
Yeah.
So I thought I was getting traded there, and then in '95 when he got hurt, I thought I was getting traded again. My manager called and said, you know, are you up? Because it's like 6 o'clock in the morning. He said, well, splashing water on your face, I'm coming to your room. So I said, oh, I'm done. So I'm getting out of here. And he told me I was going to the major league. So I went to Seattle, and my dad went to Seattle. My mom stayed at home because my sister had a softball game. And it was just, I'd never played in a dome before. You know, it was just, I don't even really remember much. I was 0 for 5, but it was just it was overwhelming.
But you end up opening it on the road, and then you come home, which might have been good for you, so you didn't have to boom open at Yankee Stadium. Walking through there, being a Yankee, getting that uniform, describe that.
Well, it's you know, this is the only team I've ever known, and you talk to players that have been with other organizations, they put on the pinstripes, it's just a different feel. And to be playing in Yankee Stadium for the first time, it's everything just seems so much bigger. And it's just larger than life, and it's the whole experience was overwhelming for me. I don't know if I can really put it into words, but it was a dream come true for me, and I've been dreaming ever since.
Does it seem bigger when you're on the field?
Definitely, without question. Yeah. 'Cause you're in the stands, and you know, you see everything's two-dimensional when you're in the stands, but then you're on the field, and it's unbelievable.
I've always wondered this about you, and I've seen practically every game you've played as a Yankee. You never, ever seem nervous. Are you nervous inside? But if you're not nervous, is that something that you were just born with, or you work toward that?
Well, I think I get most nervous watching my teammates. When I'm on the bench and someone's in a big spot, you know, I'm nervous. But I enjoy being in those situations. It doesn't mean I'm going to be successful. I've failed plenty more times than I've been successful, but I'm not afraid of failing. So I just look forward to those those big moments.
When we taped this program in 2003, the Yankees were more than 2 years from the groundbreaking of the new Yankee Stadium. The old ballpark's final season was 2008. And after the Yankees won the last game ever played there, Derek took to the microphone to deliver a speech Yankee fans will remember forever.
Now, the great thing about memories is you're able to pass it along from generation to generation. There are a few things with the New York Yankees that never change. That's pride, it's tradition, and most of all, we have the greatest fans in the world. So on behalf of the entire organization, we just want to take this moment to salute you, the greatest fans in the world.
Thanks for coming back with us here on Centerstage Classics as we continue my interview with Derek Jeter from 2003. In this segment, you'll hear Derek talk about one of the most memorable moments in the history of the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry, when Aaron Boone took Tim Wakefield deep to win the 2003 pennant. Since then, the clubs have only squared off once in October. That was the following year in 2004 when Boston ended the curse. Over Derek's career, that was the only playoff series he ever lost against his rivals from Boston. He was one of the great postseason performers in the club's history, and he always had a flair for the dramatic, which he demonstrated in his first full big league season of 1996.
Welcome back to Center Stage, everybody. Our guest is Derek Jeter, 1996. You're given the shortstop job. Any fears?
Somewhat, yeah, always. I had a terrible spring training. And, you know, in spring training, Tony Fernandez broke his arm. He was playing second base at the time, and he broke his arm, and I think they were pretty much stuck with me from that point.
All right, now you get number 2, but you asked for another number, right?
Well, I wanted 13. My dad was 13, so I always used 13 in the minor leagues, and Jim Leyritz had it, and he wasn't giving it up.
Not the king.
So I can't ask him to give it up. So everyone says, well, did they give you 2 for a certain reason? And I think it, honestly, because it was the smallest jersey.
Now, your first game was in Cleveland, okay? And right away, you hit the ground running. You make a great over-the-shoulder catch. You hit a home run. Does that take some of the pressure off?
Yeah, maybe. I think it helped a little bit to have a big game.
And then the home run. It almost was storybook from the very beginning. So let's take a look at the home run now.
Yeah, that's when I had a little pop back then.
Did you think to yourself, yeah, I'm going to hit 50 home runs this year?
Well, I was on pace for 162 after I thought I'd hit more than 10.
Now, the first year you end up going to the playoffs, and the Yankees had made the playoffs the previous year as well. I remember that Buck Showalter carried you with the team because he wanted you to experience it. How much did it help to be around in '95, although you weren't on the active roster?
It was huge. I wasn't on the roster. It was myself and Ruben Rivera. And, you know, he kept us around just to see the playoff atmosphere. And obviously the team can change after each round. You can add and subtract guys in case of injury. And it was a great series, and just to see the atmosphere in the postseason, I think, helped going into '96.
So you get to the playoffs in '96, and you guys get through it, and you win the World Series. How much excitement was that for you?
It was above and beyond anything I've ever dreamed of. You know, you always dream of playing in the World Series, but I never think you really dream of winning the World Series. It's always being up at the plate in a big situation. But after we won, everything seemed to happen so quickly. It was over with before I knew it. That postseason was like a blur.
What was the most memorable part of it for you?
Right after we won, my parents came down and my grandmother, and you know, she's the reason I was a Yankee fan, so that was a big thrill for me.
What was the ticker tape parade like for you?
Unbelievable. I mean, it's unbelievable to see that many people in that little distance. It's you can't, I mean, you get people hanging from light towers and trees and in the buildings, and it's unbelievable.
At what point in that year, Derek, did you start to feel the adoration and the adulation? Because you became more than a baseball player. You almost became a matinee idol. Did you sense that yourself?
Well, I was the youngest one, and everyone else was pretty much married, so I think they were stuck with me. But but I'd probably say not till after the first year, maybe. Maybe in the middle of the first year.
Tell me about your relationship with Torre.
He's the best. I mean, if you don't, Joe Torre's the best manager. He's a player's manager. You know, he never does anything to embarrass you. If he has a problem with you, he'll speak to you. He easygoing. I don't like seeing teams when they're struggling, looking over at a coach or manager, and they're giving a fit and throwing their arms. I think if you have a manager that's on an even keel, I think it rubs off on the team. And I couldn't picture anyone being better.
You called him Mr. Torrey from the very beginning. 8, 9 years later, still Mr. Torrey. How come?
Still Mr. Torrey. I just have the utmost respect for him. And, you know, I've called him that from day one, and I'll always call him that.
Let's talk about losing players that came up with you. Andy Pettitte, during the offseason of 2003, goes to the Astros. How difficult was that for you?
Well, it's tough. You know, I spoke with Andy before he made his decision, right after he made his decision, before he had, you know, announced it. And it's tough. You know, we grew up together. Myself, Andy, and Jorge, we've been playing together, and Mo, we've been playing together since '92. You know, we have Bernie, but he's a little bit older than us. He's getting old. No, I'm just playing. But he's a little bit old. He was in the major leagues, I think, what, 91, 92?
Yeah,
that's when we were coming up. So, you know, it's tough. They're like brothers. You see him more than you see your family. So but he made a decision for his family, so I wish him the best, just not when we're playing him.
Okay, so obviously you've had nothing but success with guys like Pettitte and Mariano Rivera. You win in '96, you win in '98, '99, 2000, but you lose the World Series in 2001 and in 2003. You don't make it in '97. All you're used to is those rings. Is it weird when you don't win?
It is, you know, especially when we've lost twice in the first round. And you have an extra 3-4 weeks at home, and I'm not going to sit around and watch the playoffs. I mean, I hate to lose. I think I have problems. That's a whole nother story we'll get to later. But yeah, it is tough, especially to lose. I mean, because you work that hard, all spring training, regular season, for one goal. At least you should only play for one thing. And I'm not really a stat guy. I don't really care too much about that. You either win or you lose. And you know, if you hit 60 home runs and you lose, who cares? You're playing a team sport. So if you lose, then it's a bad feeling.
Now, let's talk about the Subway Series, one of the World Series you won. Just announcing those games, they almost seemed to be joyless from the Yankee side. You know, everything was to lose, nothing to gain. Did you feel that way?
Well, yeah, we had something to gain. We had a championship to gain. So, yeah, I think the Mets obviously were the underdog.
But everybody expected you to win.
Not the Met fans. No, they didn't expect us to win. So, no, it was fun. That was probably one of the most fun World Series I've been a part of because obviously you didn't have to travel too far, but just the whole city of New York, everywhere you went, that's all anyone talked about.
Of all those championships, tell me, of all the great things you did in the playoffs and everything, what's your most memorable on-field experience?
Playing Boston, I think that was probably one of the toughest series we've had.
But nothing specifically that you did, the Mr. November home run, the relay against the Mets to get Timo Perez?
No, I don't. I just look at whether you win or lose. It's not really just one thing that I do.
Are you brought up in the Yankee system as, all right, we're programming you, you must hate the Red Sox, you must hate the Red Sox?
You know, it's funny because, yeah, in the minor leagues, anytime you play the Red Sox or the Mets, you have to win. Whether it's
even in the minors.
Oh, minor league, spring training, it doesn't make a difference. I mean, you can feel it. You know, in the minor leagues, then the head honchos come out and watch the game. So you have to win those games.
Now, the 2003 series against the Red Sox, you said that was unbelievable. What was the pressure like if you lost?
Well, you don't want to be the team that allows Boston to go to the World Series. I mean, and you know, we've only played Boston in the playoffs, what, twice?
Yep.
So, you know, we didn't want to be the team that let them go. So it was. Have any of you guys been to Boston? They don't like us very much in Boston. That's particularly me. They don't like him.
Yeah, they have some nasty shirts about you. I mean, do you ever see them?
Yeah, how could you not? They pretty much throw it in your face when you go. But so I enjoy beating the Red Sox.
Do you mind being called the Evil Empire?
I don't care. We've been called worse.
Well, when we come back, we get up close and personal. Yes, we stole that from another network with Derek Jeter as we turn his private life public. I know you're going to stick around for that. Welcome back to Center Stage Classics featuring Derek Jeter. Coming up in the show, you'll hear Derek talk about being a worldwide celebrity. Part of that, of course, is the way the media covered his personal life. When we taped this show in 2003, he was one of the most eligible bachelors in American sports. But even that's changed now. He married supermodel Hannah Davis at a small, intimate gathering in 2016, closing the door on one part of his life, while opening the door to a whole new chapter. Welcome back to Center Stage. Derek Jeter is here. Derek, last couple of years you've had injuries interrupt your season. How frustrating is that for you? Because I know you love to be on the field every single game.
I don't like to watch baseball.
Never?
I think, I think it's boring for me to watch it. I want to play, but I don't like to watch. And it's difficult being injured. I mean, you can play hurt. I play hurt all the time. Everyone plays hurt. But when you're injured, you're not able to play. It's pretty frustrating, especially last season.
The first game in 2003 in Toronto, where you hurt the shoulder.
First, Jeter heads up, goes to third. The throw to third is not in time, but Jeter is knocked off the bag and he's out. And Jeter looks like he's hurt.
I saw your face. I said, oh my God. Could you even think at that point, as you're writhing in pain, I'm going to miss the season here?
No, I knew I wasn't going to play the next day.
Had you ever felt pain like that?
No, I thought I had broke my collarbone because I heard it pop and I was kind of afraid to look at it. And then obviously I found out that it was dislocated. So it's not a good. I wouldn't recommend anyone doing that.
A lot of people told me that you were bothered by that the whole season, but you just played through it. Is that true?
That was all right. It was good. Now, let's clear one thing up about this whole shoulder thing.
Right.
I always hear these things about the catcher supposedly calling the clubhouse and me not
Ken
return.
Huckabee, right.
Yeah, Ken Huckabee calling the clubhouse and I didn't return his call, or he never called. So people say, well, I treated him wrong and I shouldn't have acted like that, and he never called. He came over the last day and said something. So it wasn't a situation where I thought the guy did it on purpose and that I refused to call him and I was being a bad guy. But no, he never called.
What did he say to you when he came over?
Just that he didn't try to do it on purpose, and that was basically it. But everything that I heard is that he left me a voice message. He said he left me a message and I didn't call him back, but no, that never happened.
All right, so breaking news here on Centerstage.
Yeah, breaking news. We broke it because I see all these things. Oh, I treated the poor kid. He's older than me. I treated the poor kid wrong and this and that.
But you thought it was a clean play?
I thought it was a little out of control, but
you don't think he intended to hurt you?
Intended to jump on me and dislocate my shoulder. I think he was just trying to block back. I don't think he purposely hurt me, but I think he was a little out of control.
All right, let's go off the field for a second. How tough is it for somebody in the public eye to have a personal life?
Well, it's tough because they make up most things. I read things about myself in the newspaper where do you even get it from?
Right.
I mean, I was renting a $23,000.
Yeah, I saw that too. I was wondering why I wasn't invited.
And bringing 1 or 3 girls I never even heard of before. So, it's funny. Some of it's humorous, but I think at first it used to bother my mom reading these things until one time I was out of the country and they said I was at a particular place doing this or doing that, and I wasn't even in New York City, so she laughs at it now.
Do you read Page Six?
The first thing I go to is Page Six, yeah, to see what I did the previous night.
Does it bother you if in Page Six it's not true? And do you ever call up and go, I wasn't there?
No, you don't call, because then the thing is, then when you don't call, they'll assume it's true, but it doesn't really bother me too much anymore.
Now, this is a difficult question to ask. Do you realize that mostly every single, and some married women in New York want to date you?
No, I don't know. I don't think so.
Come on.
No, I don't.
You don't sense that at all?
No.
Really?
Everyone else is married, so I don't think they have much of a choice with my team.
Oh, yeah. They're really bottom scraping with you. How tough was it to be friends with somebody as famous as Mariah Carey, and can two famous people actually have a relationship?
Well, it was, she's larger than life. I mean, I was very young at the time, so you can't even compare in terms of how well someone's known between me and her. So, I think two famous people I think they can have a relationship, but it's tough, obviously, because of all the media attention. You really do? I mean, you think that, if you fell in love with Britney Spears, you guys could have a normal relationship? There you go. This is going to be on Page 6 tomorrow. Well, I think there's a possibility. I think regardless, if two people get along, it doesn't make a difference. Okay. Is it tough for you to find a serious girlfriend? Because do you wonder, is she going out with me because I'm Derek Jeter, or is she going out with me because I'm Derek Jeter? Well, I think I'm a pretty good judge of character. And then if you fool me, you guys still got to get by my mom, my dad, and my sister. So if you can pass all them, then I think you're all right. What's your perfect girl? Perfect girl? Just someone that makes you happy. I don't think you can sit down and say she's got to be this, she's got to be that, she has to do this or do that. Just someone that makes you happy. Are you cognizant when you come up to the plate at Yankee Stadium, the squeals, not just of the girls, but of the kids? Do you hear that? Yeah, you can hear it. Yeah, definitely. I mean, we have the greatest fans in the world here. And not only in New York, but everywhere we go, there's Yankee fans. Seems like half the stadiums we go, it's Yankee fans there. So, yeah, you can definitely hear it, but I can hear the boos as well. You know, it's kind of cool when you come on deck at Yankee Stadium, you seem to talk to people. How neat is that for you? Well, if someone speaks, 9 times out of 10, I'll speak back. You know, you can't answer everyone, but, you know, I don't have a problem speaking to someone.
Do you have as active a social life as we're led to believe?
Yeah, what do you believe?
Well, I saw those commercials every night, Cheetah, you know.
Yeah, you know, that whole thing was blown out of proportion so much that, you know, we had fun with that commercial there. So, you know, I'm not a hermit. I don't stay home don't get me wrong. I'm not in the house every night. But,
right.
You know, it's pretty difficult to go out every night when you're playing 162 games.
Is it tough not to have it go to your head, Derek? Because you are Derek Jeter and you're the shortstop of the Yankees and the captain. Is it hard not to feel a little different about yourself? Not really. I mean, it's a very humbling game. You know, you can be on top 1 minute, on the bottom the next. And the same thing with life. I mean, one mistake, it could be the end of it, or the end of things of how you know it. Right.
So, you know, I'm real conscious of how I act when I do.
The People's Choice takes some choice questions from the people when we return on Center Stage, so stay right here. In December of 2003, Derek was 29 years old. He went on to play 11 more seasons, of course, all of them for the Yankees. He announced his retirement from baseball during spring training in 2014.
I felt as though it was the right time. I've been doing this for a long time. This will be parts of 20 seasons that I've been playing here in New York, and you know, parts of 23 if you count the minor league. So I just think I've done it for long enough, and I look forward to doing some other things in my life.
But the then 40-year-old shortstop had one more trick up his sleeve. In his final at-bat at Yankee Stadium, he used his patented inside-out swing to hit a walk-off single, giving him one more unforgettable memory during his storybook career. Meet Deals.
Base hit to right field. Here comes Richardson. Here's the throw from Markakis. Richardson is safe. Derek Jeter ends his final game with a walk-off single. Derek Jeter, where fantasy becomes reality.
I don't know how I played this game. I went up my first at bat. I forgot my elbow guard. I was throwing balls away. I was giving signs to Drew at second base, and there's no one on base. So I was all messed up. But I want to thank everyone here. I've said it time and time again. Everybody's chanting, "Thank you, Derek," and I'm thinking to myself, for what? You know, I'm just trying to do my job, so thank you guys.
Jeter's theatrics thrilled Yankee fans of all ages for all of his 20 years in pinstripes. No one more so than the late owner George Steinbrenner, who passed away in 2010. The boss had a special relationship with his captain, one that was immortalized on the small screen.
Welcome back to Center Stage, everybody. I'm talking with Yankee captain Derek Jeter. In the winter of 2002, after that season, Yankee owner George Steinbrenner thought that you were spending too much time out and it might be affecting your play. What was your reaction to that?
Well, I think he mentioned a birthday party.
Right.
I mean, how many birthday parties do you have a year? There's one, right? And then the media blew it up to I'm a party animal and out all night, and now anytime I go somewhere, it's on the front page of the paper. So I think it was just all pretty much blown out of proportion.
You guys turned it into that great commercial that we spoke about before, the Visa commercial, where he calls you into his office.